There we go. Now it's going.
Yeah, it's KC Wolf. You didn't know that that's the mascot?
Is it just a name? No, I don't know the names of all the mascots.
KC Wolf was he was first introduced in the 80s, man.
You're on the Wikipedia page.
They had to phase out war paint.
Oh, I bet they had a Native American theme.
They had to phase out war paint because he was problematic.
I feel like Denver Wolf had one too, though. Denver had the horse, and they had to like phase that out. Maybe the horse got hurt or something. You know, my favorite mascot moment is always the Sooners covered wagon capsizing.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Real quick, and this is a call to all sleuths, all people who are watching different score bugs, anybody who maybe had the sound on the game. I didn't understand what happened there after the sack. It says everywhere you go, including the broadcast, said the Denver Broncos took a timeout there, right? Which makes zero sense. Unless was there an injured player that I didn't see?
Maybe that's the
only thing. But in all the play-by-play and the score bugs I looked on, I couldn't see anything.
Right, there's 0.0% chance they would have elected to take a timeout so that then they could punt, so that then they could allow a 60-yard field goal.
Yeah, very, very, very odd. Obviously,
I'll be honest with you, I was wildly distracted. This game has sucked.
It sucks. It's not even Russell Wilson's fault. I'm gonna defend this PUD. No, the play calling they're giving him. What is that third down play call where they're running him to the side? It's like the side that has the most defenders. Like he's just dead to rights on some of these. Granted, like taking that sack on the other fourth down, rough, but not a good play call.
So you think this is a Sean sabotage? He wants to see Stidham out there. He's trying to get Russ hurt.
Yeah.
You know what? If there was any coach that I would believe that about, it would be one with a blemish on his record of hurting players.
Well, then, oh Jesus, Greg, people, somebody's going to post a picture now of like Greg Williams in the facility, like coming in the back door.
He's a defensive consultant for the Chiefs this week. Ooh,
Jesus.
Yes.
And anyone who wants to ride this, as our friend Barry has pointed out, Andy Reid unders in the second half for 5-0.
They've been quite good.
It's 21.5. If you just want to play that, the way this is going, that's not the worst play. But Chiefs are favored by 5.5.
I stumped for under 21.5 for sure, because the Broncos defense is they got a pulse out there, man. They're playing for Vance Joseph to have the time of his life tonight, buddy.
They haven't been bad, honestly. Like it's just maybe cover Kelsey, that helps, but. You can find better prices.
You can say it, but can you do it? Yeah.
It is incredibly hard. It's just like, just cover Randy Moss deep. Like, why do you keep letting him get behind you?
Yeah. Speaking of trying to get players injured, why is Jared Jeudy out there?
I had this discussion with Cal earlier because he's like, hey, do you think they sit him because they're so heavily invested in maybe trading him?
I thought for sure they would.
I said, you know what's fucked up? I said, this isn't baseball, Cal. They don't do that, which is the opposite. Like baseball, I know you can still get injured in baseball, but the frequency of car crash level hits are much lower in baseball. It doesn't make sense, but when you're looking to trade a player, you should just keep playing. I have no idea. He hasn't got a lot of looks, but drive up value, as Charles points out. I guess that's what it makes sense.
He's gotten 3 targets for 2 catches and 1 yard.
Yeah, it's been pretty short stuff.
4 targets.
I tell that to Byron Buxton. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It should be. I don't know if you want some Pacheco props. He's going to get 10 more carries for 50, 60 yards in the second half. Well, they're still willing to give McKinnon and CEH a little bit of game time just to breathe, for a breather on him. Like those 3 are going to combine for 15 or 20 carries. And Pacheco gets 10 or 12 of them.
Kadarius Toney and Noah Gray have as many attempts as Clyde Edwards-Helaire tonight, and they all 3 have 1 more than Jerick McKinnon.
Hilaire's in though. McKinnon will come in and catch some passes.
Okay.
I could use a little. I have a little McKinnon exposure.
2 catches for 11 yards so far. I think it's going to be a healthy dose of Pacheco in the second half. I don't think that game is going to be especially competitive here. I think the under 21.5 is going to go to 21. If you want to get on board, I would get on board soon.
Let's ride it. Let's ride the under.
Okay.
It's a little juicy, but I'm going to take it.
So, God,
Andy has been great. Andy's been great about, playing the slow game in the second half, taking a little time, run the ball.
What did you think of Andy Reid with the trick play on the field goal attempt?
There's two schools of thought. Like, there is a definite advantage to the subterfuge and the surprise,
the misdirection, the surprise.
The element of surprise is something, but also if you need 1 or 2 yards, sometimes it's best to have the reigning MVP and
with the ball in his hand. Yeah.
And the guy who's favored to be the MVP so far this year on the field, even Barry. I guess I could have told you this. Like, Barry Horse was going to agree with this as well. Yeah. He's been stumping for this sort of thing. So yeah, we'll ride the under with him. It's a squad play. Everybody's on it. Let's cheer for some gross stuff.
So there's a couple thoughts here. Number one, if you do have this great play in your pocket, why use it against the Broncos in the first half of a game that's 3-0? Number two,
time out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that toss back lateral was in the playbook, or was that a Kelsey?
That felt like a Kelsey ad lib.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if that's in the playbook too, it's the same thing you just.
Why are you
doing
that now?
Bronco? All right.
Yeah. So then give San Francisco something about the Super Bowl. I thought about that initially too, like put it on tape. Use it now in a game where it's not going to have consequence if you don't get it, but kind of make people respect
then have
it.
Something else off.
Yeah,
of
but
it, like a bootleg off that. Instead.
Maybe. But even then, like, I'm not sure what advantage it's going to give you. Like, people like, are they really going to attempt this field goal? Like, be ready. Like, so it like lessens the chance that there's a block. Like, I'm not really sure what you get out of it.
No, the only thing would have to be is they worry about that. You run a play that looks like that, and you end up running like an end around or something, or Statue of Liberty off it, where they're concentrating on stopping your wedge, and the ball's halfway to Albuquerque around the end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have no idea why they decided to do that. I was just you beat me to this. I was just gonna say, if you wanted some Pacheco exposure, but you are worried that they give him a breather. There's I was just seeing that you put this in the picks chat, like over 145 rushing yards. That's a fucking great look.
They're at 65. They're getting over 145. I think that's solid.
They're
a bunch of the beef,
especially if you have these 3 and outs from Denver, continual 3 and outs. You just have to keep running, plays.
A bunch of the beef for the Broncos is not out there. No DJ Jones, the nose tackle. Frank Clark, obviously, who hasn't been super meaningful, not playing. No Baron Browning. No. You're in pretty good shape here if you want to try to run it down their throats. And also their run defense stinks out loud so far this year. I think Justin Simmons made a nice play. I think the Broncos defense is a little bit of a bet on going forward. I don't know, though. This offense is really, really bad.
Yeah, and this is one, too. Obviously, anybody who watched this could say, like, the Chiefs should be up by more. Like, a couple of bad choices made by Patrick Mahomes, despite being the favorite in the market for the MVP, is kind of making some dumb decisions every now and then. Basically, all of his interceptions this year, a lot of them. I'm trying to think of one that was like, oh, that was just a bad bounce. That was the receiver's fault. There were some real bad decisions by him, but he's good. It's a good enough team where they've overcome it. Obviously, they've been in closer games than they've need to be a couple of these times. Kind of bailed out by the Vikings being screwballs and the refs helping them out a little. I don't know. Like, I'm not as scared of this Chiefs team as I have been in previous seasons. Probably just like the last 2 seasons where they really peaked out, or the other Super Bowl year. It's just without a true wide receiver one, it's still just somebody who has a good team is going to be able to game plan for Kelsey, and that's going to be a nightmare in the playoffs. It's like, all right, we got to do this with Pacheco and Sky Moore now.
Doug Peterson.
Yeah, who is the best defensive scheme combined with the best defensive talent that will be in the AFC playoffs?
Probably the Browns.
I was going to say, are the Browns going to
be in the playoffs? Maybe not.
Yeah. The Browns have a decent shot at a wild card if they get Watson back.
I
Like,
actually don't have a good answer for that. Now that the Bills
call
are
a
all
spade
now that the
no.
Bills are nuked.
I was going to say the Bills have had serious injuries up and down. The Dolphins could improve when Ramsey gets back, but I still don't think like it's a respected coordinator. They just don't have all the pieces. You're still, even with him back, it's not great. Jaguars have taken some steps forward, like you mentioned, but it's still kind of who you've played.
If you cut out the,
although it's been impressive.
Somebody made this point on in the chat on yesterday's pod, but yeah, if you take out the garbage time stats in the Jaguars game, that defense is clearly top 10 this year.
I know, and it's just so weird because you're not seeing it.
There's a move to be made.
It's so hard. So I've watched so many of those Jaguars games, and I'm still not sold on it. It's like, man, Buffalo was just in a weird travel spot. You played some rookie quarterbacks. Like, I know for a fact, looking at the stats and watching as much Jaguars football as I have, it's better than what I expected, but I have a hard time, actually saying this is truly a top 10 defense right now. It's close. I think it's better than I definitely thought it would be. And if that continues to get better and we see the play calling tighten up a little, Jaguars are probably dangerous.
The Jaguars D coordinator is a guy named Mike Caldwell. He played in the NFL from 1993 to 2003 for the Browns, the Ravens, the Cardinals, the Eagles, the Bears, and the Panthers. He has coached in the NFL since 2008 for the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Jets, and the Buccaneers, and now the Jaguars. He has a Super Bowl. He was the linebackers coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in Tampa. Just saying. I don't know. We need more pass rushers for the Jags. Hopefully they make a move.
Drew and I talked about this just in the DMs earlier today with, Frank Clark, maybe Danielle Hunter, Brian Burns. There's some names that might move. It seems like that's kind of always a spot where you see some people moving before the trade deadline is the pass rush, the edge pieces. And yeah, the Jags getting one of those, New Orleans getting one of those. There's a couple other teams that I think would probably be, in the market. Every team should be in the market for buying pass rush. I don't care if you're the best pass rush in the league. If the price is right, you have room and the contract makes sense, go get them.
Yeah.
The Eagles showed what you can do with
Ravens are in the conversation.
Strong rotational defensive line is definitely a benefit.
And
being able to use guys less is great.
Yeah, that's the way. You want bodies as opposed to elite guys, I think. And you want interior versus edge, I think. Are the Chiefs the best D in the AFC playoff? Adam Rodriguez asks. Best pass defense, probably. Overall defense, I think it's probably a toss-up from a handful of guys.
That's the other thing, too. The rush defense hasn't been great.
No.
But you got to take into context a little bit, too, just the situational spots. And go watch them against Minnesota. Like, I thought they played pretty decent against what Minnesota threw at them.
Mm-hmm.
From a rushing standpoint.
Yeah.
If you go look at their EPA per play, it's
I rewatched. I had a big old stack on Chiefs last week at 3.5. I rewatched that game, and boy, oh boy, the reliving the sweat of the Vikings scoring to tie at 27, and then just assuming that the Chiefs would wipe out the next 6 minutes and kick a field goal. Like, it was like, oh god, this is
seemed very
this is going to end 30.
I told you that too. I had some Chiefs, but I had more Chiefs
over.
Live at -7, and I'm like, God, like I'm just dying for a push. That's all I can hope for here.
It's over. Yeah, I and forget about the actual flag. Like, they converted a tough fourth down. Madison had a ungodly bad drop. Do you remember that play? Mm-hmm. And like, oh man, he was going for a touchdown if he reels that in. I think that's probably why he dropped it. He turned his head. His eyes just went boom. Like,
Pacheco
I'm
for
gone.
6.
I'm gone.
Yards.
Thank you. That's good to know. Best better than 6 points.
It's like the doctor on God. What show was that with the Arrested Development? The doctor.
Yes. That.
Why would you
say that? Why would you say it like that? Yes. We've lost him. We've lost him. He's gone? No, we just don't know where he is. It was like that was the guy. Great shtick. So let's just clarify real quick. So the Chiefs are going right now in the direction with the wind in their face, at least based on the Butker 60-yarder. Is that what we're going with? It's a crossy, swirly wind, but it's probably in their face right now.
We need a guy with longer hair on the field. Like, this is where Minshew comes in handy.
What was real trippy is every time they've shown the goalposts, this looked like it's been going sideways.
It looks like crosswinds. Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But maybe that's just at the end of the stadium, though, because I did a little bit of studying of the Chiefs stadium, and I had it in my notes that this is not a stadium that is broadly impacted by wind for whatever reason. It's just never been that big a deal here. Not as much as like Cleveland, where it seems to be just the.
I think some of the architecture of like, if there's overhangs above the top and the wind doesn't swirl down as much, or if it's a wider,
you remember how Gillette had the one open end?
Yeah,
that was impactful.
If you got wind coming from that direction, it would blast that way. Yeah. It is interesting. There's different. Oh, look at that. CEH in there for a passing. Every play so far has been a running back, whether it's been a run or a throw to a back. So far,
I get it.
Running back.
I get it.
Seeing what you've seen from Denver, like, send Kelsey up to the box. Go hang out with Tay and Mama Donna. And I guess Brittany's up there too as a horrible third wheel. But I'm not like risking.
Have you enjoyed some of the photos of Brittany, who just looks absolutely miserable that she's not the center of attention?
She was hugging Taylor. They were happy. I think she's just happy he stopped throwing interceptions. Like, that has to be embarrassing. Like, that's and as I say that, they throw one to Kelsey, who has 120 yards now. Jesus Christ! Just cover him, or at least twist his ankle or something. Let him go. Put him on the bench. Football players are dirty. Don't do that, guys. He's a national treasure.
I wish I had a better weather database. I just got kind of mental model shit instead of actual numbers there, and it annoys me.
You know what we need to do? We need to just do a stadium tour all over, just like a road trip.
Do you think this is the end of the Taylor Swift TV experience for the time being?
You know what would be the funniest thing is if she goes to every single game through, like, let's say the Super Bowl, if they go that far, except Minnesota. We find out she just fucking hates Minnesota for some reason. I thought that was hilarious.
Wait, did she elect not to go?
I have no idea. I don't talk. We don't.
Let's assume that the pitch back from Kelsey to Gray was a design play. This is now the third trick play that the Chiefs are deploying in this game. You want to know? Okay, even more confusing than why I used this for the Broncos. You're playing this team again in 2 weeks.
That's fair.
If you've tried out against the Broncos, give them the vanilla tonight and then give them the fucking sprinkles in 2 weeks. Like, what are we doing?
The sprinkles. I love that. Yeah, it's a little puzzling.
I don't get it, man. Andy Reid.
We're kind of at a spot here too.
Out of me.
We're kind of at a spot here where maybe we get a 3rd and 10, and maybe.
Well, we're at a spot here where I feel pretty good about under 21.5 because we probably aren't going to see another field goal attempted.
Oh yeah, although that was a really nice play.
We're gonna have to sweat if the Chiefs score a touchdown here. We're gonna have to sweat some 2-point conversion attempts by the Broncos if they ever score. But we might be the Broncos. The Broncos might not score.
The ball knocked out there.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The Broncos defense has a pulse, man. They're playing harder tonight than I've seen in the last couple of weeks for sure.
Well, they kind of gotten embarrassed lately. Like, it's been a really rough hang. Just watching, obviously, even if you take the Miami game and pretend that never happened, it's been pretty bad. Like, Zach Wilson just kind of, castrated your soul. Is that a saying? I think it is now. Clyde Edwards. This is why you don't run Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys.
Don't know why they're trying.
I feel like it's one of those things where
I'm so
it is
confused.
the ultimate sunk cost, where like your mom buys something from like that she saw on TV and go gets it at Bed Bath and Beyond, and it's not good. But then has to use it. Just has to use it. Like, oh, we have to use this because I bought it. He was a first-round pick, guys.
You know what the funny thing is like somebody brought this up in the Discord, but yeah, like they have Pacheco, who is a 7th rounder, who's outperforming their first rounder by margin. Remind you of anyone?
Yeah, I know it's crazy. I know I kind of hate the hypotheticals. Orlovsky is kind of a knob about this. I think he's just turning into Skip, where it's just I'm going to say stupid shit because it's going to get ratings and clicks. But like,
well, it definitely keeps him more relevant than he would be otherwise.
Yeah, and that's how you stay relevant, is you say ridiculous shit like that. But the Mac Jones would be like a superstar if he was in San Francisco. I hate that he says that because I always wonder about that. Like, would he be a serviceable quarterback somewhere else? Because he's just, obviously not right now with the players he has around him and the offensive game planning he has. But because if you remember, that pick was always going to be Mac. That was what the pick was. Like it was almost a certainty for a while until we found out it wasn't.
Right.
Which was something.
Right.
Yeah. And what sucks too, because he's kind of becoming a bit of an annoyance in just this space. Orlovsky knows ball. Like, he's not dumb. He has some good takes. This is what I really enjoy this from some of the people who've actually played football and, have played football more recently and have some really interesting takes and can break down film and show you some things that I just don't understand without them telling me. Like, the fact when they go down that lane, I just hate it.
I don't disagree. You don't have to be a take smith. You can just, I guess favorite NFL talking personality right now would probably be Nate Tice, I think.
Tice is great.
I really, really like his point of view on stuff.
I struggled to listen to him sometimes.
Besides our friends.
Besides our friend.
Yeah.
This is no knock on Tice, and this is not something he needs to change. It's not a flaw. But I struggle listening to him sometimes because
when he gets like so excited.
No, he brings up like all the bad things that happened to the Vikings in the 90s because he was a kid growing up in Minnesota. He was a huge fan of the Vikings because of his dad and where he lived. And he'll bring up 98. He'll bring up like a bad thing that happened to Minnesota that was disappointing. I'm like, oh my God, you got to stop doing this. It's like depressing right in the middle of a good podcast.
Yeah.
Tice is great. Tice is great. He understands a lot about the game.
Yeah. His ability to communicate and what he sees is awesome. Absolutely love it. Although I get a little uncomfortable when he gets a little excited about football stuff. Like
I'm a Ben freaking Solak.
Well, he's our friend.
Our guy.
I love Ben. Ben's telestrator. His telestrator routine is must watch. Love that.
Mina always has good takes because she's just level-headed. She's not. She's like the opposite of hot take artists, where it's like, is that a hot take? It's like, no, that's just. Yeah. It's kind of she's just telling me how it is.
She's suffering in my rankings from availability bias. Availability bias. Yeah.
Maternity leave is
recency bias, surely.
I'll leave you with that. I saw this. Somebody posted a screenshot of like TikToks, and it was like this money. It's like money making hack, which you see these things all the time, and they're just like bad ideas about like getting real estate and like doing Airbnbs and stuff, which is not a good idea right now. But it was get pregnant or get your partner pregnant if you're not able to be a pregnant person.
Sure.
And then it was interview for 100 jobs, and then get 40 of them. And start them all, and then that week take maternity leave and collect your 1 month of maternity leave. Is like, in his math is like it's like $2 million if you have 40 jobs and you take maternity leave for a month and a half, or paternity leave, whichever. And I'm like, fuck, I don't hate that. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to do that. It seems like an awful lot of work. I'm an excellent interviewer.
That seems like a true AP move, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get enough time because these
Yeah.
are so long. But JT O'Sullivan's quarterback school stuff is really good.
Yeah. If you have any good recs, if you have any good content, send it my way. I don't know that I'm gonna keep having to travel as much as I have lately, but I've been blowing through content and I'm really feeling like I need to hear some new voices and some new stuff. I'm about at my limit of the same sort of takes from the same folks. So
Yeah, I feel you. So
JT, I'll check that out. The the Alphabets guys are great, man.
Yeah, we like those guys.
Yeah. I really enjoyed networking behind the scenes with Judah this year. I
disagree with them a lot, which I like because
it
makes you think. But they have very
100% agreed.
Unique takes. Like they look at things from a very different angle, and I appreciate that sort of stuff. Otherwise, like Drew says, it's a lot of if I listen to people who do the same kind of stuff as me,
you just echo
really
chamber
work in the brain. So yeah,
dude, that looked like pretty good defense to me. I mean, he got his head around, he got his hand on the ball. I'm not sure what else you're supposed to do there. I mean, maybe he had his hand on him behind him, but I don't know. All right. Do you have any macro thoughts that we didn't cover on the pod that you want to bring up on in a less formal format?
I don't like the penalty. I don't know.
I didn't like that penalty. I thought it was really good defense.
I think he was probably holding on to him, which is whatever. It's fine. It's fine. But
if it didn't affect the play, he got his head around. He got his hand on the ball. What else?
It helps pull you back to the ball sometimes. If you can grab onto them. I don't know. Nothing macro. I'm trying to think of like where we're at in the NFL season right now. This is the time of year where we can start moving away from the hey, is this team actually good on offense or defense? Because here's the 5 teams they've played. And we know like 4 of them are very bad on the opposite of that, or 4 of them, a couple of them, the Ravens are good. I'm backing the Ravens this week. I'm backing them for a couple different reasons, but there's been a decent stretch of have they actually played the best quarterbacks, and have they gotten everyone's best shot at this point? I still have trouble downgrading them, but I think this is the middle of the season.
Yeah,
is when I really shore up my power numbers.
Okay, I got it.
Week 6 through 10, you get them, and then after that, you're really only adjusting for fucking injuries.
I got to get your take on something that Jay brought up today that I was stewing on that I think is valid, and then we got to talk about Kelsey's house, and then we strap. I love being a house snob because Kelsey's house is just, I mean, it is like straight out, like full on 20s bro trash, McMansion.
It's a nice size, but yeah.
Who did him no favors? His photographer that photographed the house. Like they did it in the wrong time of year and they did not stage it at all. Like stage that. What are you doing? Like just an embarrassing job by the real estate agent. Anyway, the take I wanted to get we were talking about it yesterday. Hovering over Cincinnati North was plus 422. Ultimately, didn't pull the trigger because I was like, the Ravens could just win enough games, get the tie break, and then but Bengals would potentially still right now make the Bengals a 10-win team.
Yes.
And if that happens, they could still get a wild card. And I was like, if they make the playoffs but don't win the North, and I have plus 422, I'm going to be completely bent. The Jamar Chase OPOY at 20-1 though.
So I wrote that today, and I haven't had as much time.
Was that in the newsletter today?
I haven't had as much time with awards as I love to this week, but I did a really quick, I spent 10 minutes on every award just looking at it and looking at schedules. Okay. And that kind of stuck out.
Because if the Bengals get back into it, it's their offense. And
because JJ's out. It's Tyreek and CMC.
Yeah.
And if Elijah is getting a little healthier, so maybe they actually have a backup running back where
Chiefs pick. Nice.
If they actually have a viable running back,
there.
viable running back backup to CMC, so they can actually do what they're saying and throttle him back a little.
Of course,
if he throttles back,
it's a rotating. It's a hot hand there anyway.
Yeah, I mean it has been, but he still gets his every week somehow. Man, he just like 8 carries, 120 yards. Like, what are we doing? Tackle him though. Don't let him get too close to midfield. So I wrote that today. Out of all 6 awards, that was the only one where I said, like, this is a viable position that I'm thinking about taking right now. 21's a little big because he is Higgins is coming back, but man, if he's gonna get 12 targets a game for the rest of the year and Burrow only gets healthier, I'm still not super sold on the defense at times. Like, they're gonna be in games where they're gonna need to score.
I didn't break down the tape, but it felt like they were using him a little differently in that Arizona game. Like, it wasn't
kind of using him all over the field.
Yeah, it wasn't just like the same old shit. It was a little different.
Well, you had a good point. You talked about how Joe Burrow is playing around his injury. I wonder if there's something to Taylor and the offensive scheme and just everything. If
they're
saying,
finding,
like,
it's forcing them to be different. Yeah,
we have to use Chase differently to help Joe Burrow at this point if we want to be saving our season, honestly, at this point. So, and Sam points us out. The narrative is like carrying the injured Burrow, fixing it, getting this Division One.
The other thing is that it, like, the Bengals win 10. Bengals have, by the way, go look at the Bengals schedule. They have a bunch of really tough, really high profile games, right?
They win half of it. You win half of those. It's great narrative.
Right. And what do you call it? The opportunity for the Bengals to get him be a wild card still keeps him in the discussion, right? Like, they don't have to, like, okay, you must win your division to be in the conversation for MVP. Yeah. No wild card quarterback is winning the MVP. You can write that in pen. Okay. The OPOY though, you get into the playoffs, you're in the conversation, I think. And so I think I think it's a similar bet to Cincinnati North, although a little bit more resilient, and it's well anchored. He was the preseason favorite, for fuck's sake. And it's, that narrative is stronger now than it was in the preseason because he has carried them. He has pulled them out of the depths here. And his game last week was so spectacular that his stats now all of a sudden don't look as problematic as they did.
Yeah.
So
no, and it just McCaffrey for sure is in the conversation right now. Is
this is about price.
Tyreek and McCaffrey are both like 3-1, 3 or 4-1. Like, they're co-favorites, and then there's a bit of a drop off. But Jamar Chase, if he has a couple more of these 2-3 touchdown games, like, it's probably a decent buy point on it. I'm not saying go nuts, but I'll be
21?
adding a little bit. I did want your opinion too on there's a few guys that are tied with 6 sacks, and I know Watt is nuts and he has 8, but like Khalil Mack has 6 sacks. He's 100-1. Danielle Hunter 6 sacks, 100-1. Like, I want to look at. I have my my forward facing schedule to predict games won and stuff, but I want to do that versus like quarterback and offensive line look ahead on some of these defensive edge players. And see if there's some of these guys that have 5-6 sacks that have like 10 games on the schedule that's like, oh, this is an opportunity for like a multi-sack game. Yeah. So there's probably a buy point on some of those guys just as a fun tickler as well.
Kate, so
that's the thing, like all of them were in one game. Yes.
The Chargers have two primetime games in December, back to back, at Raiders hosting the Bills. Yeah, I mean, I need to get deeper into this. When you do that, if you figure out what the Chargers defense is, by all means tell me, because that's
the other issue.
I can't put my finger on it to save my life.
All right, Kelsey's House, second straight conversation about Arrested Development. Sudden Valley.
It
It's
is in
straight out of
Sudden
Sudden
Valley.
Valley.
It is
It just-
straight out of
it's
Sudden Valley.
Like I can't shit on this guy. He's dating.
I'm ready for someone to pick up one of
Taylor
the pool
Swift.
balls in the game room and just take a bite out of it because it's actually an apple. Yeah.
So I'm assuming like there's people living in the attic. Anyang is in the walls.
Yes.
It is. It's crazy that Cal would not leave that alone for all afternoon. Just kept
That was
posting
great.
pictures of like Kelsey's game room, and there's like a sad
Yeah,
Christmas tree.
just a miserable job with the pool and the
It looked like a
photography.
fake Christmas tree.
You know what? If you're gonna sell your house and you have a pool, Andy, you know when you
Take the
should
cover off.
Take
Take the cover off. Photograph it in the summer.
Photograph it in the summer. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you thought of that.
I know. As someone who is trying to convince my wife not to want to put a pool in,
Yeah, the gym was the only thing that was well appointed. And
gym was nice.
It was so crowded with stuff, though. You can't do anything in there. It was it was claustrophobic. There's also no way Kelsey actually works out in there. I'm sure he goes to a better
when is he ever home?
Yeah. Why would
honestly go to an Anytime Fitness? It's even better.
Yeah.
It is nice to be able to work out at home. You know me, big workout guy.
Yeah.
I'm a hiker. I just like to hike around, get the nice boots and everything. So all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get going home. I'm gonna call it a night.
All right,
Hopefully
man.
we have 3-point quarter. Let's
I think we're gonna get a 3-point quarter. Oh my goodness.
Keep drilling this ball into the ground. Keep running it. Let's go. Enjoy it, guys. If you're in the YouTube, please hit the thumbs up. The market is not even close. The profit exchange market for this week was Mahomes versus Russ, and it was yards not rushing and receiving. It was passing and rushing. I mean, not much competition in that one. I really thought we'd see some better Russ, and that would be kind of a close one. Not even close. Runaway market this week.
Yep.
The Sunday one will be the big three in Buffalo versus the entire Giants offense, which is sad, but that's where we're at because it is looking like we're getting to Rod.
All right, let's wrap it. Thank you, Dan.